Good day, world. This is Maria Liberati, and welcome to my podcast, The Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. Lots of recipes, culinary stories, travels, and more from my Gourmand World award-winning book series and blog, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking. I can officially be called a Philadelphia Italian market baby. You see, I was inspired early on at the age of 4 by my shopping trips to the Italian market in Philly with my grandfather to get fresh breads, cheeses, pasta, vegetables, and fruits for our large, unforgettably flavorful Sunday dinners. Fast forward to a trip to Italy for my modeling career that became a 20-year life-changing experience that included learning old world winemaking, cheesemaking at my family's vineyards and farm, studying the culinary arts, truffle hunting, having my portrait done by a famous Italian artist, working with some remarkable Italian chefs, doing culinary programs at some of Italy's most beautiful resorts and vineyards, creating my book series and trademark, appearing on Italian TV, and having my blog about Mozart featured in the National Museum of Vienna, Austria. And my 300,000 blog subscribers can attest to all this. I'm looking forward to having you as a special guest during my podcast with other interesting, fun, and entertaining special guests where we will be making a connection through food to art, travel, and life. Hope to see you then. Welcome to the Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. And join me as my special guests today are an interior designer, and she's going to help us with some tips on repurposing or redecorating your house for spring and doing it on a budget. And also we have, she's known as the Allergy Chef, Kathlena, and she's going to help us learn how to cook or switch up different ingredients and recipes for any allergies that you may have. She's known as the Allergy Chef, so she really knows what she's talking about. So stay tuned for those interviews. And I also wanted to give you some of my top 10 tips for DIY decor, because springtime is usually the time everybody starts wanting to spruce up and switch up their space, their personal space, whether it's a home, an apartment, the place that you live in, your room. So here are my top 10 tips. And of course, Jacqueline Cook, who's on today's show, she's an interior designer. She's going to go more into telling you some other tips on really sprucing up your space for spring. My tips are DIY, do-it-yourself tips. So number 1 is to repurpose glass jars. You can clean out old jars and turn them into vases, candle holders, or storage containers. And you can decorate them with twine, paint, or adhesive gems. I love buying foods that come in mason jars because I repurpose those jars. Love using them for my flowers. Number 2 is to create wall art. Use canvas, cardboard, or even leftover wood to craft wall art. You can paint abstract designs, stencil patterns, or even arrange pressed flowers. Number 3 is to upcycle furniture. Give old furniture a fresh look with paint or decoupage using decorative paper. A simple sanding and staining can transform a thrifted piece into a veritable treasure. Number 4 is to craft photo displays. Hang string across a wall or frame and attach some lights and use clothespins to display your favorite photos for a warm personal touch. Number 5 is DIY shelves. Build simple shelves from recycled wood or crates and paint them to match your space. They can hold plants, books, or knickknacks, and who doesn't need more shelves? Number 6 is to decorate with nature. Collect sticks, stones, or pine cones from outside and craft them into centerpieces, wreaths, or garlands. Number 7 is custom throw pillows. Sew your own pillowcases or decorate plain ones with fabric, paint, embroidery, or iron on design. Number 8 is to paint flower pots. You can add personality to plain terracotta pots with paint and patterns and use them indoors or outdoors to grow your plants. Number 9, make your own candles. With some wax, wicks, and old containers, you can create all kinds of candles in custom scents and colors. Number 10, I love this one, is to make a personalized doormat. Use stencils and outdoor paint to create a cheerful and unique welcome mat for your entryway. So DIY or do it yourself is all about letting your creativity flow and making your space feel truly yours. And with these DIY tips, you can really do that on a budget. And I also today wanted to share with you, Mother's Day is coming up, and wanted to share with you some more great gift ideas that I have been researching for Mother's Day. And the picks this week for my Mother's Day guide, and you can catch the Mother's Day guides. There's a few of them at the MariaLiberatishow.com, and MariaLiberati.com and HealthyRecipes.com. So this week I have been having fun researching some of the top products that I think would make great gifts, and we had a lot of products submitted. So the ones that I've selected I thought were the best for gifts for my listening audience. All things elderberry. They have everything made with elderberry. So you can find teas and gummies and all kinds of things. So check out all things elderberry. Aware Hair. Great products, professional products for hair and silk ties to keep your hair healthy. So you can check out Aware Hair. That's a small company too, so small business. It's a great company. Let's see. Then we have Corico. They make they make actually bowl holes, tableware that makes it easy to dispose of the pits, and also for olives, an olive bowl. So it's Corico.com. That's also a great product, really beautiful for tableware. Then we have a company called Cheeky Cocktails. Yes, that's right. It's Cheeky, Cheeky, and they have a wonderful decaf espresso syrup and a hot honey to make great cocktails. So check out Cheeky Cocktails. Cloudnola has a double wall insulated glass collection. Check those out. That's from Cloudnola. I found some other products that I've been mentioning from Cloudnola as well. And you can find them again at the MariaLiberatishow.com. Here's a really interesting company. It's called Demeter Fragrances. And I was able to create my own signature scents using on their website. I was able to create 2 fragrances that I really love, using some of my favorite scents and kind of mixing and matching them all together. So that is a great gift for mom. Echo Chic Filers is it's a really interesting filing system. Great, especially for, we're talking about sprucing up your house for spring. So it's a great way to keep things organized. If you know any new moms out there that have real tiny babies, you can, actually they have them for babies of all age ranges. It's the Grip Baby Onesies. They're really adorable. So these are perfect for new moms also to get for their babies. The glass slipper. This is actually like a slipper for your wine glass. So it can be stable on really any surface that you put it on, and you don't have to worry about your wine glass tipping over. The glass slipper. And this one I just loved. It's called canvasbynumbers.com. And you can create a photo on Canvas. Actually, they'll create it for you. You send them a photo, and they'll create a paint by numbers photo of what you sent them, and they will include the paints and instructions on how to paint it, so you can actually make like a canvas of your favorite photo. So if you have a photo of mom, they created one for me of my little fur baby that I'm a mom to. So you will absolutely love this. You can create photos, of you and mom, or whoever you want to create a photo with. You can do that, or maybe your own fur baby. But check out canvasbynumbers.com, and you can create your own custom paint by numbers kit of your own favorite photo. And if you know that your mom is having any problems with any pain in her back, or really anywhere, a perfect gift is an eye health TENS unit, perfect to alleviate any muscle strain in neck, back, any muscle strain. So it's a great gift for mom. And along the same lines, there's a company called Incrediwear, and these are great. These are actually, so I found the knee sleeve, which you can wear if you're having problems with your knee. You can wear those, and they increase circulation and help with any pain you may having. And then, well, with me, because I'm always cooking a lot and cutting and chopping and using my hands a lot for cooking, I'm always having some issues with my wrists and my hands. And they have these wonderful gloves that increase circulation and really help to alleviate the pain that you may have. They're really soft, wonderful items to use if for mom or for you. But if you want to give these as a gift, they make a wonderful gift also. Those are my picks for Mother's Day, and I'll be coming up with more next week. And also, as mentioned, you'll be able to find more at the marialiberattishow.com. And my special guest today is Kathlena, that she's known as the Allergy Chef. And she is going to give us some tips for spring bake for those of you that might have different allergies, right, Kathlena?
Correct.
Because so people can still do their spring baking with some tweaks that you're going to help us determine or give, right?
Yes, absolutely. So for those of you who are managing, say, celiac disease, need to be gluten-free, have food allergies, anything of that nature, what you'll want to do first and foremost, start with recipes that are designed for free from people. Rather than to take a recipe and try to make a million swaps, which won't usually turn out great, start with a recipe that will really work. In the case of people who are dairy-free only, that's
Mm-hmm.
the exception. If you're only dairy-free, dairy is a 1-to-1 substitute. So if a recipe calls for 1 cup of milk, you can
Uh-huh.
use any type of milk, 1 cup. If the recipe calls for something like heavy cream, skim milk, or any other specialty milk product, that's where you can't do the 1-to-1 substitute. So only where the recipe just says like a cup of milk, 2 eggs, a cup of sugar, that sort of deal, you could
Uh-huh.
use any milk. For those who are only gluten-free,
Uh-huh.
sometimes you can get away with using a gluten-free all-purpose flour in
Mm-hmm.
place of the all-purpose flour in a recipe, especially if the recipe has eggs. Something to think about is, so the two work together and also work against each other in the sense of, if you are only egg-free, you've
Mm-hmm.
got the gluten network to literally save you, right?
Uh-huh.
If you are only gluten-free, eggs can literally lift you out of a bad baking situation. Okay. But when you're gluten-free and egg-free, all
Mm-hmm.
bets are off. That's where
Uh,
you must absolutely start with recipes designed for that group, because no gluten network, no eggs,
huh.
it's like a disaster waiting to happen if
Disaster.
you go online and like you find this super cute like rabbit cake and they're like, oh, just use any substitute you want. No, no, no. If you're using more than one substitute, that's where you really get in trouble. And that's kind of the big takeaway, right? More than one substitute, you really have to start with a recipe designed for you. Now, in terms of how to find these recipes online, for those who are gluten and egg free, one thing you can try looking up is gluten-free vegan. It's a very popular recipe category. Vegan means no milk, no eggs, no honey, nothing else from animals, no like insect coloring, nothing of that
Hmm.
nature. So if you look up gluten-free vegan, it's also gluten-free egg-free. But if you search for gluten-free egg-free, you get less results. So sometimes just changing how you search online can get you what you're really looking for. And when it comes to spring flavors, the nice thing is most spring flavors are already naturally allergy friendly, gluten free. So it's very easy to incorporate. Where you'll want to be careful, recipes that call for lemon oil. If you are free from, be very careful with lemon oil. It can actually interact with other ingredients and create a very chewy, dense, hard baked good. I
Mm.
actually owned and operated a free from bakery for years,
Hey.
and I had to learn that lesson the hard way. In developing a really, it was actually the top seller at the bakery. So it was a lemon blueberry cupcake, but I
Right.
had design the recipe because I was like, oh, I'll use lemon oil. No, 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 you will not use lemon oil. When you want lemon in free from goods, what you'll do is use lemon zest. So you need a zester for this. You'll
Huh?
use a little bit of lemon juice. And then the real secret is when your baked goods come out of the oven, use a silicone brush to brush on lemon oil on top. You want food grade organic lemon oil. When you brush that on top, it gives people the olfactory response. So it's like they go to take a bite, they can smell it. And then because that taste is right at the top, they get that pop of lemon without ruining your baked goods. So it's like the best of both worlds.
Exactly. There you go. That's great. All great tips because I know a lot of people try, they think gluten free, you can just do just as you said, oh, I'll just substitute one or these, all these things, and it just comes out really terrible. So, and there's so many choices out there. So there's really no reason that if you're eating gluten free, you can't eat something that really is delicious because there's so many ways to do that now. So, but anyway, so if somebody wants to start baking gluten free, any suggestions for something, to try or,
I would actually suggest it. So if you're brand new to baking in general and you're
right,
gluten free, I would actually suggest a baking mix. So check out brands like Rustic Scoop, Bob's Red Mill, Better Batter. Buy the pre-made mix so that all you have to do is add like your milk and egg or whatever. Because in gluten-free baking, honestly, the hardest thing is the flour blend. So when you buy that mix, you're buying a blend that works. If you're a baking pro, but now you're switching to gluten free, honestly, I think you could start anywhere. I think you should just start with what you love because if you already understand the rules and science of baking, you're only a hop, skip, and a jump from understanding the rules and science behind all the gluten free baking. And if you're only making that gluten free swap, then I think you're in the clear. But if you're going from any type of baking, no baking into lots of restrictions, so gluten free, dairy free, egg free, nut free, if you've got multiple things you're dealing with, I would say probably start at my website. Like I don't know anybody else that does as much free from as I do.
right,
I know there's Meg at Allergy Awesome. She
huh,
does quite a few things. Um, I've had a bakery, I've got cookbooks to get people started. So it's like
right.
put together all the right tools and I tell you exactly which brands to use. The other big tip is get a kitchen scale. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
If
yes,
I like, you can save yourself so many headaches by just getting a kitchen scale. The thing is with gluten-free baking, a lot of people don't realize this. So one particular ingredient, it's called arrowroot. You can call
right.
it starch or flour, whatever. It has different names, but it's arrowroot. 30 grams is usually what I call for personally.
Hmm.
All it takes is about 10 grams, so 1/3 of an ounce. That's not very much. 10 grams to ruin an entire recipe,
Ah,
right? If you go 10 grams over. So when recipe developers are saying, oh, use a cup of this or a cup of that, I'm like, hold on. Is it a packed cup? Is it a fluffed cup? What kind of cup is this? So to me, if you are in the free from world, you want to find recipes that are actually with metric, so done with grams, kilos, etc., so that you can use your kitchen scale and you can get precision baking. Honestly, that's the way to go. I have had thousands of people all over the world using my recipes with their kitchen scales, and they're like, this works. I've never
Hmm.
had a recipe that works so well. And I'm like, that's the kitchen scale for you, right? It
Exactly.
takes all the guesswork out of everything.
Exactly. Exactly. No, that's a great idea. I know when I studied cooking in Italy, I got into also you measure, generally the recipes don't tell you how many eggs, but how many ounces of the eggs you have to have. So we even did the egg thing where you're measuring, the eggs in ounces, breaking the eggs, measuring the eggs in ounces, because people also don't realize, with the small, the large, the extra large,
Right.
there's different quantities in the eggs. So, that's another thing you can measure in the scale. But that's definitely a great idea because I know it is challenging for people. And, if you're gluten free, you want to still enjoy what's out there, but you need to just learn how to do it because there's so many things out there now, which like 10 years ago there wasn't. Now, you can really, I've tasted some amazing gluten free things that, I didn't even realize were gluten free. So,
Yeah,
um,
no, the
from,
world has come a very far way. I would say the other big tip to give people for those who are egg free specifically, do not trust those charts online. There are these charts. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but people say things like how to substitute one egg, and they
right.
give no context, and they'll say things like 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, 3 tablespoons of tomato paste, carbonated water. They'll list out all these things that replace an egg. Now, is the chart false? No. The chart is true within context. But without the context, people don't understand how to use it. Because, what I like to explain to people is think about what the substitute does, how it behaves on its own standalone. That's what it's going to do in terms of egg substituting. So eggs do three key things: they lift, they moisten, they bind, right?
Uh-huh.
And so when we look at peanut butter, for example, peanut butter is not light, airy, fluffy. It will not lift anything. You want to put peanut butter in a souffle and tell me what you get?
Yeah,
Nothing, right? It doesn't
exactly.
work.
Mm-hmm.
So, carbonated water, on the other hand, which some people say can replace parts of an egg, which it can. Well, what does carbonated water do standalone? It bubbles, it lifts, it fluffs up in theory, right? So, what the substitute does on its own is essentially what it's going to do in your egg-free recipe. The best way to actually substitute an egg, believe it or not, is with a three-pronged approach. Without the multi-pronged approach, it's just not the same. So when we look at lift, you want either extra leavening agent, so extra baking powder, baking soda, etc. And if you're doing baking soda, not a lot, like quarter of a teaspoon. More than that, and
Mm-hmm.
you'll kill your recipe. And then add an acid, so vinegar, apple cider vinegar, citrus, etc. That will give that lifting agent an extra boost. You can also use carbonated water as a lift, right? And then we've got to look at the binding agent. So for binding, I personally like to use flax,
Uh-huh.
golden flax meal. It's not the same as flax seed. Those will give you two different results. But a really tight flax seed bind, I
Mm-hmm.
usually use 3 tablespoons flax to 6 tablespoons water. A lot of the recipes call for a lot looser of a replacement, but I'm like, no, let's actually get things to hold together. And then for the moistening, the real trick is oil. I don't know if you ever heard this from your grandma growing up, something like, oh yeah, put some mayonnaise in that cake, right? Like things that sounded really wild. The reason our grandmas were right is because what is mayo? A
Mm-hmm.
bunch of eggs, right?
Right.
And so by using these three things
Uh-huh.
in conjunction with your other ingredients, you end up with a great mouthfeel,
Uh-huh.
foods that don't fall apart, and they're light and fluffy and airy. I've used that combination for years and years and years. I ran an award-winning bakery. People were like, I literally had a customer say, she takes a bite and she goes, I can die now. I was like, whoa, that must be some really good cake. Like I can't eat it.
Exactly.
I'm allergic to it all, but wow, that must be really good. And that's what that combination does, right? So it's having a great flour blend as your base. And then, of course, on top of that, if you really want your stuff to taste good, you use organic, all natural, non-GMO ingredients. They just taste better. I
Oh,
have had so many
definitely.
tasters, they tell me again and again, it's like your food just tastes like a mile ahead of everybody else. And I'm like, yeah, because I bought the really expensive ingredients, right?
Right.
It's one of the key differences, but in the
Exactly.
end, you end up with something awesome. So hopefully this gives people just some inspiration. No matter like what your dietary restriction is, you can still have awesome spring cookies and cakes and pies, and you can still create a buttery pie crust with dairy-free butter, right? Like
Uh-huh.
you can create all of these great experiences with just tweaking your raw materials.
Exactly. That's great. Well, we're just about out of time. Thank you so much for all those great tips. So, Kathlena, tell people where they can find you online.
They can visit theallergychef.com. They can see great articles, tips, resources, video tutorials, recipes, as well as my new line of cookbooks as well.
There you go. Great. Thank you so much for being here, and hopefully we'll have you back in the near future.
Sounds good.
Great. Thanks.
Discover the timeless secrets of Italian cuisine with the Basic Art of Italian Cooking series by Maria Liberati. That's me. From fragrant basil to silky olive oil, each page is a culinary masterpiece. Taste the passion, embrace the tradition, and create your own masterpieces in the kitchen with my Gourmand World award-winning book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking. Buon appetito, and you can find the books on Amazon.com, Kindle, on marialiberati.com, and on the publisher's website, artoflivingprimamedia.com.
And today, my special guest is Jacqueline Cook from Mersene Studios. She's an interior designer and content creator. And spring is just about here, and everyone wants to do spring cleaning and getting ready for spring, kind of refresh. So, Jacqueline, you're gonna give us some tips, right, on doing all that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first things first, Maria, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be talking to your audience today. Yeah, so with the new season coming around, it's really kind of like that open your windows energy, right? So, we want to kind of feel like that fresh vibe is coming in. And I think one of the things that's really nice about this is it's scalable, right? So it could be something that's as simple as sort of rearranging a bookshelf, getting rid of some things that are from, old times that maybe you are moving on from, or it can be something on a bit of a larger scale. So maybe you want to think about taking on kind of a full room refresh or even beyond that. So I think the first thing to think about when we're kind of talking about what should be new for spring is like, what is the scale that we want to address? Is it something where we're just kind of addressing a little corner, or are we kind of, soup to nuts addressing kind of a whole space?
That's a good point. And I think the one thing people should think of is like, what do they have time to do? Because sometimes we plan all this stuff and then it's just so overwhelming and nothing gets done. So, if you don't have that much time to do that, then it may be good to start with kind of planning out one of the smaller ideas that you had. What about, I know we mentioned thrifting because excuse me, I know that's something that's very popular and it's actually a lot of fun too.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. And, a lot of my clients are super interested in thrifting. I think, some of the primary reasons. So, mass produced home decor is everywhere, right? And we can get so wrapped up in the trends and sort of what we're seeing on social media. And that can kind of end up being a compass for us. That's not necessarily the most aligned for us and our personality. So when you shop secondhand or go thrifting, this could also be applied to, items that maybe you get from a family member, someone that you really love that is willing to kind of get rid of some of their pieces and infuse new energy into your home. It really is a lot more personal and a lot more energetically aligning versus, maybe buying something at a big box store. Although, of course, there's a time and place for that. I just think there's something really special about kind of going on that treasure hunt. Same thing as like when you're on vacation, right? If you're walking through the markets in Italy and a piece of art just, strikes your fancy, that's something that you're going to acquire. And think of that beautiful time in your life every time you look at it. And thrifting, I think, can create the same energy, especially, if you get some coffee, pack up with some girlfriends or people that you love and sort of make a special event or day out of it. So for me, I think it's a really great way to, again, bring your personality and kind of bring some of that energetic infusion into your space.
Exactly. And you find really unique pieces. The thing I love about thrifting is it's you find very unique things where, as you mentioned, if you go to the big box stores or the big box stores online, it's kind of the same. Everybody's got the same stuff. But when you go thrifting, you find some really neat, like really unique pieces. You're right, that really align more with your own personality. So I think
Yeah.
if anything, that's, probably a good reason. Uh-huh.
Absolutely. I think too, and obviously there's different types of thrift stores. So there's, big vintage markets. You could get kind of like the big box, not big box, but like the larger thrift stores, like your
Uh-huh.
Salvation Army or your Savers. And then there's also, these kind of small locally owned shops. And those are typically my favorite to go to because a lot of the times the owners have spent a lot of time collecting all this stuff. If they're sourcing from estate sales or something like that, for example, they have these relationships with the people from
Hmm.
which the pieces are being sourced. And that kind of adds another really fun element to it as well, where it's like, there's this awesome woman and she gave us this really cool, glassware, and you can kind of connect with the person that you're getting it from. And I think that's something that's really appealing for me and for my clients. The other thing too is like they just don't make them like they used to, right? There's a lot more craftsmanship, obviously depending. Some things are not in great shape, but if you really hunt and try to, find things again that call to you, a lot of times you get a lot more use out of them just because they are sometimes built a bit better.
Sturdier. Uh-huh. Yes, yes, I know. I've gotten like tables and chairs that are so heavy, and it's like, oh my gosh, if you go to a big box store, everything is just pretty much made out of cardboard almost anymore. So that
Yeah,
stuff is like really sturdy and it just looks, so it looks kind of rich versus like the stuff at the big box stores. It's just the same old,
totally.
so definitely a lot different. So what tips would you give for, if somebody just wants to get started, it's spring and they want to do something to kind of refresh, what's a
Yeah.
good, something to do, just a small refresh or
Yeah, that's a great question. Sorry, and I didn't
uh-huh.
mean to cut you off
That's a
there.
no, no, that's okay.
So excited to jump into the spring of it all. What can I? So, like we talked about at the beginning, I think getting really specific about what you actually want to address so that you are able to actually get from point A to point B. I'm totally guilty of this, with my
Uh-huh.
clients, less so because I'm on a little bit more of a deadline, but in my own home, I have a 7-month-old. So it can be really challenging to kind of, get all those projects done. So I think the first thing, and we kind of already touched on this, but get specific about what you actually want to address.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think that the next point and kind of what we were talking about from the thrifting side of things, I think one thing that's really great is like, okay, I need this. I know this console needs a refresh. I know it would be really great to have, some type of, little, bowl, right, to put my keys and to put, these matches that I've been collecting or something like that. Create your list ahead of time. So it's not always the best idea to be like, okay, I know I need XYZ, and then you're kind of manically shopping online or you're, jumping around to different places and kind of just trying to find something right in front of you. Make a list and be intentional about it. So say I want XYZ thing, then you can go to your thrift store, then you can, there's nothing wrong with buying new, of course, but
Right.
you just make sure it's actually something you like because sometimes when we're trying to get things done quickly, it can be, sort of a rash decision and then you're refreshing it all over again. So I would say get specific about what you actually want to acquire. And then I
Hmm.
think the last part of it too is, you don't necessarily even need to buy anything new. It can be something as simple as just rearranging. Maybe you have some pieces that you kind of had from a last move that you haven't looked at in a few years. Maybe those come up from the basement and something that's existing goes back down. Maybe you're kind of just accessorizing a little bit differently. So finding a really beautiful, blanket and you're draping that over the couch to add a new pop of color that you didn't have before. Maybe you're kind of subbing in and out some pillows. It doesn't have to be a full renovation project for it to have massive impact, and just kind of creating that new look is just super energizing.
Right, exactly. And yeah, just something small sometimes creates a whole other kind of vibe, a whole other feel. And you can
Yeah.
accomplish that with just a little bit. So, or just some little accessory or something. So all good things. So we're almost out of time. And so tell people where they can find you. I know you're at Mersene Studios. Are you online also?
I am, yeah. So my website is mersenestudios.com. I'm Mersene Studios on primarily Instagram. And if you happen to make your way over to TikTok, although who knows how long that'll be around, I'm
Right.
also on TikTok as well. We
Yes.
talk a lot about this type of stuff. So interior design, thrifting, there's some mom content in there as well. But that's a great place to find me.
Great. That's great. That's great. Hopefully we'll have you on again in the near future as well.
I would love that. Thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome, and hope everyone gets their refreshes for spring.
Exactly. Definitely. Thank you. Thanks for all your help too.
Yeah,
Thank
of
you,
course.
Jacqueline.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us and listening to the Maria Liberati Show. And as always, thanks to my producer, Britton Roselle, and this week's special guests. And if you get to create any of those DIY projects that we talked about at the beginning of the show, please take a picture, hashtag it, share it with us at the marialiberattishow.com or on Instagram at Maria Liberati, or Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, and we will share those pictures at the Maria Liberati Show website as well. And before I go, I have just a few more Mother's Day gift guide picks. Again, they'll be on the marialiberattishow.com Mother's Guide for 2025. There will be a few Mother's Day guides, so check out the marialiberattishow.com. So Irresistible Me has this great ponytail that mom can use. If you don't have long hair and you've always want to have kind of an Ariana Grande thing going on, or you want to just have a ponytail without having a real ponytail, check out Irresistible Me. And they have some great gummies for hair, skin, and nails also. So I know mom would like that as a gift. And from Joju, that's Joju, they have these wonderful shirts that have SPF protection. They have the Laguna Sun shirt, which I just love. So check out Joju. And I just thought this was really, really clever. So a company called Latitude has this beautiful charcuterie board that has an ice pack in it. So, if you're doing your summer or spring picnic outdoors, and the weather's, kind of hot, and you have to be careful if you have meats and cheeses, you do have an ice pack in their charcuterie board. So that's Latitude. We'll probably have a picture on Instagram of this novel charcuterie board with an ice pack inside. And Leafy makes a device that makes your blinds at your house smart. So you can, open and close your blinds with an app on your phone using your Wi-Fi and this little device called Leafy. So check it out. Mom might like that. If she goes away, if the family goes away, you can always still control opening and closing your blinds by your phone. Check those products out and the products we talked about at the beginning of this show. They make great gifts for Mother's Day. And don't forget to check out our Mother's Day guides at the marialiberattishow.com and marialiberati.com and healthyrecipes.com. And as always, you can find me at marialiberati.com, at the marialiberattishow.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Maria Liberati, on Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, on Pinterest at Maria Liberati, on Twitter or X at Maria Liberati. On YouTube, our channel is called The Maria Liberati Show. And let's see, you can also find videos on Vimeo at Maria Liberati. You can also find me on TikTok at Maria Liberati. And my Gourmand World award-winning book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, you can find that on the publisher's website, artoflivingprimamedia.com, at marialiberati.com, on Amazon, on Kindle, on Barnes & Noble, and really anywhere books are sold. And if you can't find the books, you can always shoot us an email at info@marialiberati.com, and we'll make sure you get a copy. And until next week, peace, love, and pasta.